I usually try and get stuff in for the Spectator. They have a deadline every week, and obviously you've got Private Eye deadlines every other week, and then stuff that's been to them then goes around to the other magazines. And that's how it works, really. And then I get commissioned work as well, so I get lots of, do some trade magazines and stuff like that. So it all depends on what deadlines are looming, really, what I've got on at the moment.
And does the, is it all, do your gags sort of come naturally? Is it all, or do you kind of,
No.
do you sit there and think, do you see something instantly and think, I can turn this into a gag, or is it a bit of a longer process than that?
No, it's. I wish they did come naturally, and it's one of those things that never seems to get any easier. It seems to. It's always, just blood out of a stone, really, every time. So, they can come from anywhere. Sometimes they do come sort of out of the blue, but most of the time you're actually sitting down and trying to, work something out. Very, very occasionally something will come out of the blue, and you know straight away, oh, that's a sellable gag, and it is, but it doesn't happen very often, unfortunately.
You don't sort of come across wordplay or signs in the street or something and go, yeah, that's a gag.
Sometimes, yeah. You're always looking out for that sort of stuff, like say signs, buzzwords, sometimes they do leap out at you, but inevitably when it comes down to it, you've got deadlines. You're looking at a blank piece of paper, and thinking, what am I going to do, So.
or a blank iPad even.
Or a blank iPad, yeah. Well, I actually do tend to draw on paper. I tend to rough things out, ideas and stuff. I tend to work with a pen and a pad of paper and just sort of rough ideas out, and then when I've got a few ideas together, that's when I go to the iPad.
And what do you take a picture of it on your iPad, or do you just copy it?
No, really it's just the ideas, just writing down the ideas, doing a very rough sketch of it. Very occasionally I'll sketch it to a stage where you think, okay, that is great, that's exactly what I want, and then I will take a picture of it and import it into the iPad. But mostly it's just scribbles, really, scribbly ideas, and then over to the iPad and know what it is that I'm going to draw.
You use Procreate. You've gone from obviously pen and ink.
Yeah.
How do you find it?
It's. I've been doing it almost now for 10 years, I think. So I got this iPad in 2016. So it's still going. I find it good. I think the key thing for me was I wanted it to still look like it's pen and ink, to have that sort of inky, variable line quality to it. And most of my cartoons are in black and white. And I didn't want it to. I think as long as you don't use lots of sort of fancy effects and stuff, and gradients and bells and whistles, then you can still do that. And I think a lot of people actually didn't know that my cartoons were digital, because I try and, as you can see, I still try and keep it quite loose. So what I've got here is you've got a rough underneath. You sort of sketch everything out, and you reduce the opacity of the layer, and then you ink over the top of it.
And which pen are you using there on?
This is what's it called? I can't remember. It's just one of the standard ones. Gisinski ink.
Oh, right.
So it's specifically an inky one. Sometimes it's a little bit opaque, and then what you do is you just copy the whole thing and put another layer on top of it, and makes it a bit darker. But like I say, it's staying loose with it and not being, not using too many bells and whistles, and I think it's become an essential tool. And obviously, as a gag cartoonist, we've got to do a lot of stuff. It definitely increases your productivity.
And it's easy when you make mistakes. I guess you just double tap and away it goes.
Yeah. The undo button. It's a marvelous thing. So this is a couple watching this King and Conquer. I think this joke has probably already been done. It's probably the obvious one. This new thing, King and Conquer, which isn't getting terrific reviews. So the caption is, it's 1066, but it's not all that. So this is one I'm sending out there. Let's see how it gets on in the world. That's all you can do. I imagine actually it'll probably get used as a. I mean, I used to work as a newspaper sub-editor, and some of my jokes are sort of like newspaper headlines in that sense, and I can imagine that would be what you'd put on a review of this program, you know. So. Well, this is one of my favourite things with the Procreate is where you do a line like that and it goes bing. Although there are some cartoonists that say you should never have
straight lines.
So,
when it comes to drawing a TV, though, I mean, or a screen, it's got to be square, isn't it?
Nobody wants a wonky TV, do they? You know.
No.
No.
Unless it's Will o' the Wisp.
Yeah. Good reference. Ask your grandparents, kids.
Yeah. Showing my age there. You don't use the colour. You drop colour in, do you? Or do you not put that on a separate layer underneath, maybe?
I do. Yeah. I mean, what I normally do is I do it on another layer. And you know, obviously, most cartoons I don't do colour anyway, unless I sell it to a magazine that wants it in colour, or unless it's you know, quite often I'll do a gag where you need a little bit of spot colour on it. You know, I've been doing things about the England flag recently, you know, so obviously they're black and white cartoons, but just be straight. They're black and white cartoons, but they you can have that little bit of red spot colour, you know, for the flag.
There you go.
There we go.
Excellent.
And there's your finished cartoon. Ready to be rejected.
So, Roger, you want to talk us through some of your favourite tunes?
Yeah, okay. Well, I thought I'd pick a few recent ones first of all. The first two were in Private Eye quite recently. So this was basically got a guy watching the news, and the newsreader saying, "Good evening, everything is shit. Here's Carol with the weather." And that was really just born out of, as I was saying before, frustration trying to think of ideas. I mean, the news, this was actually earlier in the year, I think not long after Trump got back in. And of course, you've got ongoing stuff with Gaza and Ukraine, and it's thinking, I'm supposed to be getting jokes out of this, you know what I mean? I'm supposed to be a topical cartoonist. Where are the jokes here, you know? So then, you know, I think I literally thought everything is shit, and then thought, okay, well, maybe that's the joke, you know?
Yeah,
so that's the tricky bit with being a gag cartoonist, is you are supposed to make people laugh, you know? And I think that one, you know, I got quite a good reaction to it, because I think it's that sort of wry smile, you know, rather than a huge laugh. Likewise with this one, which was this is a question of good timing. You know, you can't just call everyone you disagree with a fascist. And of course, the guy there with his full SS regalia. That was actually drawn just slightly before Elon Musk did his his famous salute. Yeah. Because that was just the prevailing feeling, wasn't it? There was a lot of, you know, very dodgy people around, and it was just a question of good timing. I think by the time it landed on Private Eye's desk, that had happened, and they went with that one, and again got some good reactions. This is a recent one from The Spectator, and so I think the tricky thing with ideas is, well, let me show you the cartoon here. So there's nothing I love more than to lose myself in a book. And of course it's the Wally or Waldo for our American readers. It's the thing about ideas, and you know, that was one, as I was saying before, sometimes you get an idea and you know that that's a rock solid idea, okay? It doesn't happen that often, but sometimes it does. And I was thinking it must have been done. And then you think, well, what do I do in that situation? Do I constantly Google? And actually, I was so convinced this one must have been done that I did do quite a lot of research into it. And I came up with a lot of other Where's Wally cartoons, some of them very good, but not this line about losing yourself in a book. So I went with it, and there it is, and that was in the Spectator.
It's a classic one,
Yeah, and it sort of leads on to the next one as well in terms of I like in my cartoons obviously to get references right. So you could have just sort of drawn Where's Wally off the top of your head, but wouldn't have worked as well.
Yeah.
So similarly to this one, which this was a Private Eye one, which oh no, not more Scandi drama. This was when Scandi drama was quite a big thing a few years ago, and as you can see, I did a bit of picture research into trying to get the costumes right and everything. Although of course inevitably I got a lot of complaints because the Vikings have horns on their helmets, and we all know that Vikings don't have horns on their helmets, but as I pointed out, they do if they're in cartoons, so that's just the rules. But that one was a lot of work to do for an on-spec cartoon, so luckily it did sell. But I just like the jokes of it. Sometimes you just draw things because you want to draw them, you know what I mean? Yeah. If you're enjoying it, you just do it. So that was that one. Subjects that keep coming up that are good for constant cartoons, really. So the sort of culture wars, transgender issues, all that sort of stuff was a pretty big one for a while, and well, still is. Just constantly a source of jokes. So this is He-Man pointing out, as if there was any doubt, that his pronouns are he and him. And again, the reference there, I didn't just draw He-Man out of the top of my head. Thank you, Google image search. That was in the Critic, that one. Nice. The Critic love all those sort of gags, because they're sort of like leaning to the right. So, I mean, I wouldn't say it was a right-wing cartoon. It's just poking fun at something. But yeah, they love anything on culture wars. I actually wasn't going to show this one, Pete, but you mentioned this one.
Yes, I forced it in.
And this is probably my most famous cartoon because it just keeps coming back. This was in Private Eye in 2014, and it just keeps coming back. I think it will be etched on my gravestone. So it's New York, London, Paris, Munich, and then the final one is a record, not a clock, and it says everybody talk about pop music. Self-explanatory to anybody who's over the age of 40, I think. So.
Guilty as charged.
Right, yeah. And probably my least topical cartoon, because that song came out in 1979. This was published in 2014. But yeah, it just keeps coming back. Somebody took a photograph of it years ago that just keeps going viral online, and my signature's actually partly cropped out as well. So it's, But having said that, I have sold a lot of prints as a result of it. So I do look upon it fondly, even though I had no particular hopes for it at the time. And this next one actually is in a similar vein, because this was in the same issue of Private Eye, the dog's Pollux. So, and there's another one that keeps coming back, and I've actually redrawn it many times. Luckily, I've got a printout of the Pollux, pseudo Pollux, but I've redrawn it many times with different dog breeds for various people. They keep coming back and say, "Oh, could you do it with a Labradoodle or whatever?" So it keeps coming back, but you don't bite the hand that feeds you, if you excuse the pun.
Exactly. Yeah.
Again, a cartoon I had no particular hopes for at all, but seems to have gone down quite well. I said they were both in the same issue, so I suppose that constitutes some sort of career high.
Double whammy.
It's been downhill ever since. So. And this was in Saga magazine, but we decided we're going to put this give it a revival on the front page of the New Cartoonist. So you've got a robot going to the toilet, and his choices are gents or artificial intelligence. As you can see, I do not shy away from a terrible pun. People like puns, I think, so there you go. It's topical. What more do you want? I've got a couple of examples of stuff that's not gags really. So I do this magazine, Skip, Hire and Waste magazine, which is now just Skip and Waste. They've streamlined the title in the way that Whizzer and Chips always used to absorb other magazines, didn't they? And this absorbed Waste magazine. Anyway, I do a regular strip for them, believe it or not, and I often make a joke about this because it sounds like one of those magazines, and it is one of those magazines that's been on Have I Got News For You, this week's guest publication. But they're a good client. They always pay. They always appreciate the cartoons. So I do a regular strip for them, and then on this occasion they asked me to do a front cover as well, which back to Where's Wally again was very much in that sort of style. and it was hugely enjoyable to do. So there's lots going on in there.
It looks like it took 2 ages to do that.
Yeah, it took a good few days. It was so it's a trade show. Obviously, as you can see, they were going along to some industry trade show, and they wanted lots of little gags in there about waste and recycling, basically, and things that you get at trade shows like overpriced coffee. So yeah, that was good fun to do. And actually, if I can bring up my iPad here, this was a recent one in a similar vein. So this was a commission from Westwood Cross, which is a shopping centre here in East Kent, and they were celebrating 20 years, and they wanted like a big cartoon which went up at the shopping centre, and people could go online and win prints of it and stuff. So again, lots of little jokes about that you'll know if you know this shopping centre, like the fact that there's a lot of seagulls after people's food, and there are dinosaurs, obviously not real ones. So everyone likes drawing dinosaurs, right? So got a few of them in. Got just jokes about people constantly looking at their phone. They've got a memorial wall there from when there used to be a hospital on this site. This is another.
What no gag?
Yeah, exactly. Yes, this is it. Well, he was a sort of wartime character as well, wasn't he? So Kilroy was here, or Chad was here, whatever. So lots of little jokes like that. They've got they want, like the fact they've got lapwings, so they wanted that emphasising that they're bee friendly as well. They've got a Bees Needs Award, So and this is Mutilda, who's actually there. That's not some from my bizarre imagination. These are real things, as is this Viking ship thing. And this is a Hood and Horse from Broadstairs Folk Week. So yeah, there you go. That was a fun job to do. The Times. Sir, the Year in Letters, which I did the year before last, and also last year, so for Christmas last year. And there's going to be another one of these coming out quite soon, so I get that plug in there. And it's very much, they pick out letters from the Times, usually the sort of funny, witty ones, whatever, and then I sort of riff off on those and come up with gags to do with it. So, for example, so the chapter heading cartoon. So on the arts and culture section, you've got this cartoon there, warning: production features the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. So this again is a sort of culture wars joke. There's lots of letters complaining about when they go to the theatre, getting all these trigger warnings. There's a nice one in here, I think. This was the food and drink section. There's a guy with a packet of avocados, and it says "best before too late." So yeah, it's very much riffing off the stuff that they're talking about in the letters and doing chapter heading cartoons. And there's another one of those coming out very soon. Handy stocking filler and all that. I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't get any more money for plugging it.
Royston,
yes,
you're not just a cartoonist, it seems. Also quite good with your hands.
Yes,
and you play the ukulele.
I do play the ukulele. I attempt to play the ukulele. Yeah, so I play with the local group called Gad's Ukes, which was started by Gad's Brewery.
Right. And
we play the uke, so we are Gad's Ukes. It's almost an inevitable pun. Having said that, it wasn't me that came up with the pun. Okay, so that wasn't a cartoonist's input. But yeah, it's good. It's a good bit of fun, and we don't take ourselves too seriously. I think anybody who's ever seen me at Cartoon Festival knows that I normally get it out and start playing at some point.
Yes.
The ukulele, that is. But yeah, it's good. It's you've got to have. I mean, cartoons used to be my hobby, so now I need a hobby, right? So
absolutely.
So this is something very different.
But you also draw them as well.
Yeah, well, this cartoon here, obviously Owl and the Pussycat. Oh God, not another bloody ukulele player. It's the literal copy of that with. Because it says the owl looked up to the stars above and sang to a small guitar. Actually, while I'm showing you that, if you just bear with me a second. I did this one for an exhibition.
You actually have a small guitar?
I have a small ukulele, which is decorated with a cartoon of mine. So there was an exhibition where a lot of local artists basically decorated ukuleles in their own style. So I did a cartoon one, and it quotes that the owl looked up to the stars above and sang to a small guitar, and the pussycat there is saying, "This is going to be a long trip."
Excellent.